right. Oh my gosh, we are live and I'm so excited because it's been a hot minute since I have, oh my gosh, gone on live, been streaming to multiple platforms. So I'm so excited to be back and I'm so excited to have my special guest who is the one who inspired this going live. Heather from Own It Empire is on with me because it's more fun having people with you, right? So, Heather,
Absolutely.
welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me and allowing me to share my energy and knowledge with your audience. I'm so grateful to be here today.
Yes, thank you so much. So, I would love everyone to learn about who Heather is and what she does. So, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Absolutely. So, I am a high performance coach for conscious entrepreneurs, and I'm really grateful to be able to serve, educate, and inspire. We'll go around there. And I've been a conscious entrepreneur for over 11 years and a coach for
So,
over
talk to more. What does that mean? Conscious entrepreneur.
So for me, being conscious means we live in a world of unity consciousness where we do what's in the highest good for ourselves, but also everyone else involved. So that we are putting people over profits.
Mm.
Absolutely.
I love that. So I am excited again to have you here because we're going to have a discussion, a talk, a conversation, and this can really go anywhere. And I really, I had posted it as authority and authenticity, but we're also living in a world where, like, I don't know what authenticity means for me. Sometimes we play this role, we wear this shield of who we think we are supposed to be based off other people's expectations, and then we show up as that version, and then we keep recreating new versions of ourselves that have nothing to do with us. So when I say authentic authority, authentic leadership, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's funny that you say authentic. So, one of my first coaching companies that I attempted to launch back in the day was called Authentic Self Wellness Coaching.
Mm.
And for me, that means doing what sets your soul on fire, being your best self, writing your story, owning your story. Because
Yeah.
for too many of us, we are being who we think we're supposed to be. We're doing what we think we're supposed to do. And at the end
Mhm.
of the day, when we get to our deathbed, it's I shoulda, woulda, coulda, and it's not what we wanted to. So I really want to help people be the authentic version of themselves and do it
Yes.
with authority. Like if just be you and own it. There is only you. There's only one version, like one you. So just
Yeah.
be the best version of you. We try to be a square and fit into a round hole. Just be the
Mhm.
square. Own it. Be authentically you and do it with authority and be that best version of you.
I love that because we tend to, well, when you were speaking, one thing that went through my head, Heather, was no one lies on their deathbed saying, I wish I bought that Tesla or that Mercedes. I wish I had more money in my bank account. No one's saying that on their deathbed. They're saying, I wish I would have spent more time building healthy relationships. I wish I would have spent more time cultivating those relationships with my family. And so I love that you are taking that approach and that was your first business name and in owning it and own it empire. How did you come up with that name for your business?
I've always wanted to build an empire that builds a financial wall of freedom around myself and my family for centuries to come, that bursts the
Yeah.
new earth, to create peace
Mhm.
and heaven on earth for the highest good of all. And I want to help other conscious entrepreneurs do the same. Hence, empire. And own it is in reference to the law of cause and effect. See, everything in our life we have co-created, and it is either here because our thoughts, feelings, or actions have been dominating in that area, and that's how we co-create and get what we have in our life. So to truly own it means to take full responsibility for that. And when I say that, a lot of people think there's a make wrong in there. They immediately go, well, I didn't ask for that. I didn't do that. I did not co-create that. I didn't say you wanted it. I didn't say it was in your highest good. I just said it was where your dominating thoughts were in the past. And when we start to understand energy and how we can work with the metaphysical as well as the physical, then we can truly own it. And we can be the author of our own story by understanding how we operate and how we can create and design the life we desire by working in the physical, getting into inspired action, but also working with the universal laws and our unconscious mind.
Yeah, and then for a lot of people, they might be like, "Whoa, what are you talking about?" But it really is an energy force, just like we feel love. Is there scientific proof? Can we see it? No, but we feel it and we know it to be true. And I just came back from a trip from Jordan with Mind Valley, and it's really all about everything you were just saying, really tapping into that metaphysical and tapping into that energy. And even I'm surrounded by hundreds of people. We're all like minded. I can still ask someone who is very conscious on their words and their thoughts and how they show up. And I can ask them, what is it that you want next for yourself? And the first thing they'll say, Heather, is what they do not want. Even though they know
Mm-hmm.
better. But I'm like, the universe does not understand a negative. But it's all about that awareness. That awareness. What are the words I'm saying? Because that leads to our thoughts, right? And we don't realize how much or how many times we're focused on the negative. I don't want this. And I'm like, well, what do you want? And then they get stumped, like, well, I've just been so focused on what I do not want. I don't know what I want.
Absolutely. And I just want to break that down for people. For a lot of us, and especially in the English language, it's very common to use double negatives. So I don't want debt. I don't want my client to not renew. But our unconscious mind and energy doesn't work in that way. We
Mhm.
have to, thank you for the contrast. Thank you for showing me what I don't want.
Yeah.
And immediately my thoughts, energy, and actions are, and feeling, the most important is that feeling, is going to go on to what I prefer. So just minding our language, because every single thought has a physiological response in our body and also is
Mhm.
a thought frequency. It is a thought impulse. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, only transferred. Thus, we are sending out rockets of desire with our thoughts, acting with universal laws, energy, and attracting back more of the same. So if we don't want debt, or we don't want stress, or we don't want illness, we are literally asking for them. So
Yes.
I challenge you all to change
Yes.
your thinking, reframe, and thank you for the contrast. And my energy, thoughts, and actions and feelings will now be on what I prefer.
Yes, and I love that breakdown. Thank you. What I have my clients do is they struggle when I ask them to reframe. So I say write out what you don't want. So let's get that out. And then what's the opposite? And then sometimes it's just easier when they write it out and then it's like, oh, okay, then what's the opposite? Then they can write the opposite. So it's just a different part of their brain they get to tap into. But when you just say like, well, what is it that you want? And what's the opposite? Like their brain's like can't compute
And it's
because we
because
programmed it.
exactly. It's the neural patterns, right? We've literally programmed. Our brain works just like our muscles. So if we're only looking at what we don't want, imagine this is the arm that thinks about all the things we don't want. And this is the arm that doesn't think about all the things we do want. All of a sudden, this arm is so strong. So when something happens or you have to respond or react to something, it is the strong arm, AKA the negative. And
Mhm.
that's just through retraining easily and reframing, just like you said, over and over again until it
Yeah.
becomes a new neural pattern. And it is our automatic response to observe and focus on what we prefer.
Yes, I was listening to my coach today, Lisa Nichols, and she was talking about how we have setbacks. And I love the way, she used full body when she speaks. And she's in heels and is amazing dress. And she's like practically falling back, sitting down. And she's like, people, we have setbacks. We have fears. We're going to have stumbles. Don't focus on that. focus on the get back up. We don't focus on the setbacks, we focus on the set ups. Our setbacks are our future set ups. And when we change our way of thinking that, oh, I'm not, I now welcome obstacles, I welcome failures, they're actually learning opportunities. I'm not going to stay down. I'm going to build up that muscle in my legs that keeps bouncing me back up, because that's where success lies, in the getting back up. So for her, it was bouncing back up. But some people kind of get a recliner, they make themselves comfortable, they're still sitting down, and then they're still complaining like, I knew life wasn't going to work for me. I knew that was a bad idea. But the thing is, they never got back up because they had the mindset of the negative.
Yeah. Or that obstacle meant failure. Right?
Yes.
It's changing that thought. And I love it. They say, you know, at some time 9,999 ways a light bulb didn't work, but he found one way that it did. And if he'd given up, would we have a light bulb, or would it have taken another 100 years? So let's focus on that. There are going to be quote unquote failures, but they are just feedback. We're here to get a learning from it. It's not our forever state, just a one-time state. And we can change that through the practices that we're talking about, through that neuro-linguistics programming, through understanding our human conditioning and behavior, and through being in inspired action and constant growth. Right?
Absolutely. And that's something that's interesting, because when we have failures, like I'm thinking back, you know, there wasn't, 9,999 failures. It was, that's how many ways a light bulb will not work. But also, like, the discovery of the microwave, that came by accident. MRI machine came by accident. Tinfoil came by accident. Sticky pads came by accident. Those weren't failures. It was just the journey to get to the destination. Some of our greatest inventions came from quote unquote failures or accidents, but that's how they were able to get to that destination. So I love the reframe. I love sharing that. I love that you have that same thought process, philosophy, that you teach your clients on that as well. So when it comes to having that authority on confidence, that authority on, I know where I want to go, but I may have some self-doubt. I'm not sure if I'm ready. How do you talk to that person who you see that potential, Heather, and you know what they are striving for, and you know that is their calling, and they are ready and they're set up for success, but fear creeps in and it takes over. How do you walk them through that process?
The first thing we stay in possibility. That's the magic sauce, I believe, truly can help anyone get through any challenge and growth opportunity. It's to remind ourselves to stay in possibility. Immediately, we want to go to all the ways it can't work, all the things we're struggling with, all the hardships. And then we forget about possibility. We forget that miracles do happen. We forget there is magic. We forget that, people are becoming billionaires every day. People are creating new inventions every day. And if we can just stay in possibility and observe, okay, this is just a growth process. And I'm actually going to pull from You Are a Badass. There's a
Jen Sincero.
Yeah, and I love the line when she says, the universe didn't give you the challenge so you could fall back in your seat. It gave you the challenge or this growth opportunity that we're afraid of, so that we could show us how badass we are.
Yes.
Just own it and just understand that the fear is going to be there regardless. As soon as you accomplish this goal and you go to be the next best version of yourself and hit that next goal, guess what shows up again? The fear. But we stay in it not as long. We have shorter pity parties. We have that transformation process a little bit quicker. We recognize when we're having pity parties and we're in fear a little bit quicker. And we can get back into an inspired action. And it's just like a muscle that we're constantly exercising. So first is always being possibility. 2, understand it's just part of the process. It will always be there. And 3, it's the person who chooses to see it and feel it and take action anyways that succeeds. And just strengthening that muscle that you stay there not as long, see it quicker, and get out of it quicker.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that. And I would love for you to share about your podcast and what that is all about. Heather and I met because I got to be a guest on her podcast. So I would love for you to talk more about how you got started with that and what it's all about.
Absolutely. So the Own It show is to help uncommon knowledge become common. And we are here to educate, inspire, and serve so that you can truly own it, AKA live happy and fulfilled. And for me, I come from a little bit of an unconventional background. My mom has been teaching me energy work for a long time. You know, she gave me the book, The Conversations with God, when I was 13. This different, little bit of a different upbringing. And I remember when I was younger, I was thinking my mom must be crazy. And then I studied at an alternative school. I now studied advanced spiritual training. And I'm starting to understand this is the uncommon knowledge that needs to become common. We aren't aware of how to treat ourselves like a whole. So on the Own It show, I have other conscious entrepreneurs come on and share their knowledge so that we can have so everyone can have access to it. I understand we've got to pay for the coaches, we've got to pay for the mentorship, but at some point we've got to start somewhere. And I want this knowledge to be accessible to everybody. So to help people truly become conscious, AKA, understand we are a whole, and when we harm self we harm others, and when we harm others we harm self, and truly come from that, but also have all the knowledge and tools and skill set, or even awareness that it's there, so they can go and dive deeper and truly be the best versions of themselves and have that full expansion. And it really just started because I started a weekly show and I knew I had so much to share. And everyone kept telling me I sound like a walking audiobook. And if I would just start talking, I'd be rich. And so I started tips and tricks live on Instagram and Facebook, which eventually moved into the Own It show. We're in our 2nd season. And I'm really so grateful to collaborate with other conscious entrepreneurs like you to come on the show to inspire other entrepreneurs to own their journey and maybe even get started on it. Because only 10% of the population is willing to do what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And majority of them quit when those obstacles and fear come in play. And if they had the mentorship, if they had the knowledge, if they had the community, if they had the energy, perhaps they could, take it to the next level and keep serving to help birth that new earth that is serving us all.
Yes, and I love that. And I love your approach to it. And it's so true. From my research, 80% of entrepreneurs, I don't want to say fail, but they shut, let's just say they shut down their doors within the first 3 years because it is hard and it isn't for everybody. And you need to seek out those coaches and the mentorships. You need to have that tribe around you. You need to have those podcasts that you can listen to at midnight when you're freaking yourself out, to go back and remind yourself, I'm on the path. I'm taking motion, and I'm in motion, and I'm taking action. And that's something that I've very much invested in: coaches, mentorships, but also community. And that's something, I don't know if you've noticed, Heather, but for women, I work predominantly with professional women, and they're like, I'm ready for a new level of community who are also stepping outside their comfort zone, who are putting healthy boundaries in place because they're ready to prioritize themselves for the first time. They're like,
Amen.
I know, right? They're like, I'm going to let go of that lofty paycheck because it's actually costing me my health. It's costing me my happiness. It's costing me my joy. It's costing me my relationships with my family and friends, or my partner, or my children. And I love your approach and how you are so mindful of where people are in their journey and meeting them where they're at. And that is a skill that most coaches do not have. They're like, this is where I'm at, and this is what I coach, and this is what I teach, and you either get it or you don't, but that's on you. And I know you're like, I know where you're at, and I'm going to meet you where you are, and then we're going to go on this journey together. So I
Love.
love that. So talk to us more. Oh, go ahead.
I
I know
just want
you
to
want to
say,
come out.
so I was that coach in the beginning until I started to understand the unconscious mind. And I love the universe provides us with opportunities of growth. I had multiple concussions and I became not a high performer anymore. And I had to rebuild my skill set back. And I came from a new understanding and I started to specialize and work with clients with brain injuries. And the only way you're going to take them to where they want to go is when you meet them where they're at. There's no space for make wrong. There just isn't. And I had that coaching for so long previously, and it works for some, but not for all. And I'm here to serve all.
And I love that. And I hope people who feel connected to what Heather is saying, her approach, she has a different approach. You know, I work with the professional women in corporate, but who are also entrepreneurs who are ready to be high performers at another level. And Heather, you're like, I want you to share more about like who's the type of person who comes to you.
So they're usually a holistic practitioner, which means they see ourselves like a whole mind, body, soul, and spirit. And they are also building a business that leaves a positive impact on this world and perhaps filling gaps and making old systems obsolete, whether it's educational,
Mhm.
health wise, and really bringing around the full spectrum and having us start to work with spirit and energy, so and our mind and our emotions, so that we can truly
Mhm.
master self. And truly, I'm looking for conscious entrepreneurs to continue to serve who are making the old systems obsolete, because we have a lot in this world, which is amazing. And it's really time for the next evolution where we put
Yeah.
all of us first. And those are the people I serve, and those are the people I work with. And I'm really grateful for all my amazing clients because they are doing some really incredible stuff and just truly having ripple effects of positive impact through their work, through their clients,
Mhm.
through their communities. And it's what I'm born to do. It's what I came here to do. And I'm just so grateful to be able to do it.
Well, I feel that. I'm sure the audience feels that. People who catch the replay are going to feel that, Heather, because you are definitely someone that is needed in this world. And I love that you are doing your part to ensure that everyone who needs that type of support, that they have access to you. And that's that visibility. And I'm sure it had to be you stepping out of your comfort zone at first.
Oh,
And
for sure. I would normally have sweat head to toe and have to change after one of these, but I got it now.
and that's great role model for those because you're someone who leads by action. You're not just like, oh, here, do this, but I never do it myself. You walk the walk, and that's such a great role model and a great example for so many people. But I also remembered when I first started my business, I'm going to admit as well, I started off just the corporate woman and her leadership, and they were getting huge successes, but they were still missing out on the whole other aspect of what it is to be a person, their mind, body, soul, and spirit. And I realized that, oh my gosh, I think I'm meant to do something bigger than what I had even thought of or imagined. So I had to do my own soul searching. And then I created my mastermind that's about developing self mastery in all areas of our lives because none of my coaches were doing that.
And that's why we connect so well, because we are looking at a whole. Life is a whole. If we're
Yeah.
not happy in business, it impacts our relationships. If we're not happy in relationships, it impacts our business. And they're all intertwined. And that's the holistic view. And that's why I love people like you who are bringing that holistic view to all types of people. And I think one of the places it truly is missed is in the corporate world. And I'm so grateful that you
Mhm.
are bringing that to everybody.
Yeah, it is missing. It's not talked about. And what I share is like we're still the same person when we go to work and we go to home. When we go home, and we're still carrying all that stress and that animosity and feeling like I'm a lone survivor and I have to fight everybody to be heard, seen, and respected, including my spouse, including my children, including my family, because we're on.
Mhm.
And so it's really hard to turn off. So I love that you have that same approach. I have that same approach with my clients, serving in a different manner. But that's why it's really great. Oh, that also reminds me, Heather, as I shared, I was in Jordan, Mind Valley event. A lot of them were coaches, a lot of them do different things, but people still were saying, there's no room for me.
Mm.
There's thousands of coaches. There's no room for me. How do you help your clients who might feel that same way?
There are 7 billion people in this world. And there are people out there literally that will only resonate with you in your coaching. And you have to own your secret sauce, I call it, that
Mhm.
separates you amongst everyone else. So those people can find you because they only going to resonate with you. And
Yes.
only when you get out of that fear and get out of your only way can you serve more and can they find you. So just get started because they're literally waiting for you.
I love that. And if people didn't catch that, is people going to resonate with you? Because we all uniquely show up differently. I show up differently than Heather. Heather shows up differently than me. We could be teaching the same thing and people are going to resonate with us differently. And so there is room for everybody because we cannot help 7 billion people on our own.
I mean, I'd like to, but it's highly unlikely.
Right. And I had went to a before COVID hit and shut us down, I went to Brendan Burchard's Influencer Summit, and he's been around forever. In my world, he's been around forever. And he still took a poll and asked people to raise their hands who this was the first time they'd been to his event and heard from him. And now still 25% of the crowd had never heard of him before the event. So
Wow.
it goes to show no matter who you are as a influencer, no matter who you are in your ecosystem, there's still people out there who don't know who you are. So we got to keep going. We got to get that visibility. We got to let people know we're here.
Yes.
Heather's doing that through her podcast. I'm getting ready. Heather had got me going. I'm doing this. We're broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook group, LinkedIn, and on another Facebook group. So this is me putting myself out there as well. So Heather, you're leading the charge. I'm following your lead. Thank you so much. So
My
how can
pleasure.
people connect with you or follow you?
Absolutely. So our website is ownitempire.com. And I highly recommend everyone go and grab our free customizable habit tracker, which I joke, ooh, habit tracker. It's not sexy, I know. But our results actually show up in our habits. It's the little mundane things that we do every single day that compound over time. Change your habits and you will change your life. And whatever you track improves, as Robert Kiyosaki teaches. So I challenge everyone to go to ownitempire.com and grab your habit tracker today and stay up to date because we have constant workshops. Every month we do a free workshop. So come hang out with us in our community. Business Bliss is just around the corner, our signature workshop. And tomorrow we are dropping our new Goal Achievement Masterclass.
Well, that is so exciting. I want to get on that bandwagon. I'm all about learning as well, and I'm sure our communities will benefit from what you're putting out there. And I love that there's so much access to you so people can get to know you before they're making that investment in themselves. So I love that. So Heather, thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for being a role model for me to put myself out there again. And the habits really do change everything. They really do. And it can be so easy. We can make it fun.
It's
So
so
I
easy
love
to do and easier not to do. I love the book, The Slight Edge. That's what we're reading right now. And that's all about having those habits and being consistent and persistent. And I just want to say one more thing. Guys, if you haven't checked out the Own It Show, the episode with Renee and I, please, it's on LinkedIn, it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, but it just recently dropped on Apple Podcasts. So go and check out our episode because if you found value in this, you will definitely find value in that.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Heather. Thank you for everybody. If you're catching the replay, put hashtag replay. We'll be in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you.